So the Metaspeed has always taken inspiration from the flagship racer, whether it's the Meta Racer or the Metaspeed, but I think with the latest update, the Metaspeed 4 becomes a solid training companion to the Metaspeed Sky Paris. So these are my initial thoughts of the shoe after a handful of runs in them, and a quick disclaimer that ASICS did send me these shoes, but all my thoughts and opinions are my own. Anyways, let's dive into the specs. The stack height is now 43.5mm in the heel, 35.5 in the forefoot, with an 8mm heel-to-toe drop. The weight comes in at 8.47 ounces in a men's size 9. The price is $170, and I put this in the up-tempo trainer category. Alright, now let's talk about what's new in the shoe overview. The upper is simple with minimal padding around the heel and a breathable mesh upper. The midsole gets an increased stack height, now coming in at over 40mm in the heel. It is made up of Flight Foam Blast Plus with a puck of Flight Foam Turbo dropped into the forefoot. In the middle of the shoe is a full-length carbon plate. The outsole uses ASICS grip rubber for coverage heel to toe and resembles the outsole of the Metaspeed. Now talking about the fit of the shoe, I got my typical men's size 12 and I personally found it to fit true to size. I had a thumbs width at the end, and while it isn't a super snug racing flat feel, I'd say it kind of fits more relaxed, kind of like a trainer. I didn't have any issues with the lockdown or rubbing or anything like that. Now let's talk about the ride and my first impressions of the shoe. So it does have this nice rocker that really helps throw you on your toes. I found when I was going a little bit slower, like during warm-ups or recovery in between sets, that I was landing a little further back on the heel, and it felt pretty squishy and bouncy back there, but it does have that plate to help stabilize it. It kind of reminded me of like a plated Nova Blast 3 back there with all that Flight Foam Blast Plus. But once I started picking up the pace and doing my up-tempo work, and I was landing more in my forefoot, I could really feel that Flight Foam Turbo puck in there, and it firmed up, is a little more responsive and snappy. So I'd kind of say it almost feels like a Nova Blast 3 in the heel and Metaspeed Sky Plus in the forefoot. So I found that this new foam with the plate placement and the rocker geometry, they all worked really well together to give you nice protection and propulsion for long up-tempo runs or workouts at marathon pace. However, I did find when I was trying to do things a little quicker and shorter, kind of like 5K, 10K stuff, that I was wishing there was a little bit less underfoot, something a little sleeker and snappier. That being said though, I do think that this is a solid training companion to the Metaspeed, and especially the current Metaspeed Sky Paris. It has that similar plate placement where the plate's a little flatter and there's more foam underneath it. In fact, all the Flight Foam Turbo is underneath the plate, so it helps compress that better. Plus, the rocker is now pretty much the same as the Metaspeed Sky Paris, so you can do all of your workouts in this shoe and then keep the Metaspeed Sky Paris for those key workouts or race day. So overall, I'm digging this redesign of the Metaspeed 4. I think it's helped the shoe become more marathon oriented instead of just a speed day shoe. Alright, now I'm going to do a few quick comparisons. The first shoe I'm going to compare it to is the Metaspeed 3. So just looking at these shoes next to each other, you can see that the Metaspeed 4 gets quite a bit of stack underfoot. Not only that, but this shoe is just Flight Foam Blast Plus, and this one is Flight Foam Blast Plus with that Flight Foam Turbo in the forefoot as well. They do both have carbon plates, but this one's going to be that kind of more aggressive spoon scooped shape, while like I mentioned, this one's a little bit flatter, and they also have a little bit different geometries. This one's kind of more Metaspeed Edge-esque, while this one's a little bit more Metaspeed Sky. So like I said, I've kind of been enjoying this one more for marathon, but this one's definitely my pick still for 5K, 10K pace stuff. Even race day, I think this one's a good option for those shorter distances, but I would definitely pick this one for those kind of half marathon efforts. Next up is the Metaspeed Sky Paris. So this is the flagship lightweight marathon racing shoe. It has the new Flight Foam Turbo Plus in there, and that's even lighter and bouncier than before. So this shoe, even holding them next to each other, feels way lighter in hand, and definitely what I'd prefer for race day. But some people that might want to save some money or want something that's a little more stable could use the Metaspeed 4 as a race day shoe. But like I mentioned, I think that they really complement each other, and it works well for kind of the speed day training companion to the Metaspeed Sky Paris. Another comparison people have been asking about is against the Superblast 2. So the makeup of the midsoles, I'd say that the Magic Speed 4 is almost like 90% Flight Foam Blast Plus and maybe 10% Flight Foam Turbo, while the Superblast 2 is probably 90% Flight Foam Turbo Plus and maybe 10% Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. So just that off the bat gives it kind of a more premium foam underfoot in the Superblast. They do have different geometries though. I find that the rocker on the Magic Speed is a little more aggressive, which throws you on your toes a little more, makes it feel a little snappier. Plus this one does have that plate, which the Superblast does not. They both have stacks that are over 40 millimeters, and depending on your definition, some people might call both of these super trainers. But I think while they do have some overlap, I personally use them for different use cases. While the Superblast is versatile and can handle speed work, some up-tempo stuff, I prefer the Magic Speed purely for speed day, while I prefer the Superblast 2 for kind of more like a premium daily trainer where I'm putting a lot of miles on it, doing a lot of long runs. It's lightweight where I pick up the pace anyways. I just find that it is a more versatile shoe than the Magic Speed 4 in my opinion. Now it's time for a battle of the Speed 4s, the Magic Speed 4 versus the Endorphin Speed 4 from Saucony. Both of these shoes have a similar weight, they both have 8mm drops, but the Magic Speed 4 has an extra 6mm of foam underneath it, and it has a carbon plate, while the Endorphin Speed has a less rigid nylon plate. So I think one of the main differences to these two come down to the foam. This one uses 100% super foam with that Power Run PB all the way through. This one just has that puck of Flight Foam Turbo in the forefoot. So with that Power Run PB in the Saucony Endorphin, I find it to be a little snappier, a little livelier, kind of more simulating what you'll get on race day if you race in the Endorphin Pro 4. But when I'm on my feet for a long time doing some longer workouts at marathon pace, I am wishing at the end of it that a little more protection underfoot or maybe just a little bit softer foam, and that's where I really enjoy the Magic Speed 4, is it just has that more protection underfoot, a little bit softer. So I'd say Endorphin Speed 4 is a little snappier, a little faster, but Magic Speed 4 can handle its own in speed, but definitely gives you more protection there. Adding more stack, changing the geometry, and adding Flight Foam Turbo makes the Magic Speed 4 even closer to the Metaspeed Sky and become that true training companion for those marathon workouts. Although I think it does do a great job as a training companion to the Metaspeed, I do think that there are people that can race in this as well. So even though it isn't that 5K, 10K kind of snappy shoe that I enjoyed out of the Magic Speed 3, I think that does leave kind of a gap where maybe a new shoe could slide in there and fill that. Anyways, I think that this shoe, like I've mentioned multiple times in this video, is definitely more oriented towards marathon and with all that extra protection of that foam underneath, and I'm here for it. I do still have more miles to put on the shoe before I give you my final verdict in the full review. Until then, I want to hear from you. Have you tried the Magic Speed 4? Do you love it? Do you hate it? You're going to pick up a pair? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on running.